When you hear the word Ghana, what actually pops into your head? If we're being completely honest, for a lot of us, it's just somewhere in Africa. Or maybe, don't they grow a lot of cocoa? But today, you and I are going on a journey of rapid, mind blowing reveals. We are looking at a country that literally sparked the freedom of an entire continent. It's a place that is going to completely surprise you the closer we look.
So, we absolutely have to challenge our basic assumptions right off the bat. Seriously, what comes to mind when you picture this nation? Because the reality is vastly more impactful than you might think. We aren't just talking about a dot on the map here. We are talking about the very epicenter of a global geopolitical earthquake. Ghana wasn't just a bystander in history. It was the main catalyst.
Think about March 6, 1957. On this day, led by Kwame Nkrumah, Ghana did the unthinkable. It became the very first sub-Saharan African country to break free from colonial rule. And this wasn't just a local victory. This single event triggered a massive, unstoppable wave of independence movements across the entire African continent. Nkrumah's success literally redrew the world map within a single decade. Imagine being the nation that lit the torch for an entire continent's freedom. And that incredible power is baked right into their identity. The name Ghana wasn't just pulled out of thin air when they gained independence. In the Soninke language, it translates directly to warrior king. It was a highly deliberate choice to honor the ancient Ghana Empire, a massive, insanely powerful empire that once completely controlled the lucrative gold and salt trade routes of West Africa. They were reclaiming a deep, rich history of kings and wealth. That deep connection to identity carries right over into everyday life, too. They have this absolutely fascinating tradition where the day of the week you're born literally becomes part of your name. So a boy born on a Monday is named Kwajo. And what about Friday? Well, Friday is Kofi, as in the highly famous former United Nations Secretary General, Kofi Annan. His very name in the Akan language simply means Friday born. It's this beautiful, constant grounding in the exact moment a person entered the world.
Speaking of entering and leaving the world, you are going to be fascinated by this next tradition. Families often commission elaborate, custom fantasy coffins. And we are not talking about your standard wooden boxes here. Not at all. These are shaped like whatever the deceased loved most in life. We're talking a Mercedes-Benz, a giant fish, a mobile phone, or even a massive cocoa pod. It's wildly creative, but it's rooted in this profound cultural belief that life and your personal passions continue right on after death.
And that cocoa pod coffin, that is no joke. Ghana produces a staggering amount of the world's cocoa, roughly 20% of the entire global supply. They're the second largest cocoa producer on Earth, standing only behind their neighbor, the Ivory Coast. Literally, the next time you eat a piece of chocolate, there is a 1 in 5 chance the core ingredient came directly from Ghanaian soil. But there is a deeply surprising and, frankly, heartbreaking historical paradox here. Despite growing a fifth of the world's cocoa, for most of its history, Ghanaians themselves couldn't actually afford to buy the chocolate made from their own crops. The raw product was exported to Europe, processed there, and then sold at a massive premium that the original farmers could never afford. It's a bitter irony that really highlights the historical inequalities of global trade. It's a land of massive contrasts. Just look at its geography. On one hand, you have Lake Volta, created by the Akosombo Dam in 1965. It is the largest man-made lake in the entire world by surface area, covering 8,500 square kilometers, and it provides power for over 65% of the country, an absolute industrial giant. But then you have Lake Bosum Twi, Ghana's only natural lake, and get this, it sits inside an ancient meteorite impact crater that is over 1 million years old. And that million-year-old crater holds incredible spiritual weight. Ghanaians consider it a deeply sacred site. It's believed to be the place where souls come to say farewell before entering the afterlife. Just sit with that juxtaposition for a second. You have a modern, massive hydroelectric dam powering the nation, living right alongside a million-year-old meteorite crater where souls gather to say goodbye. It is genuinely poetic. Let's make a hard pivot from ancient craters directly into the future. Because if you thought Ghana was only about history and agriculture, you have to hear this. In 2017, university students, not some massive, well-funded government space agency, but students from All Nations University in Ghana, built their country's very first satellite. It's called GhanaSat-1, and it was launched directly into orbit from the International Space Station. Just an incredible feat of modern innovation happening right in university labs. And back down on Earth, their national energy is just as fierce. You might assume stadium sports there are entirely dominated by football, but actually, traditional wrestling is a massive, true stadium-filling national sport. Millions of people watch this. These wrestlers are treated as cultural heroes, celebrated just as fiercely as any international football star. And it ties right back into the culture. They perform complex spiritual rituals and wear protective amulets during their bouts. It is raw cultural energy on a massive scale. As we wrap up, there's one final fascinating geographical quirk I have to point out. Ghana is officially an English-speaking country, but it is completely bordered by French-speaking nations. You have the Ivory Coast to the west, Burkina Faso to the north, and Togo to the east. It is a complete linguistic island, an English-speaking nation entirely surrounded by a sea of French. It just adds one more layer of uniqueness to its place on the map. It's just wild. They literally lit the torch for African independence. They build satellites in university labs, and they celebrate life right into the afterlife by burying people in coffins shaped like the things they cherished most. It completely reframes how we should look at the map. Ghana may be small in size, but it is enormous in historical and cultural impact. So what other incredible stories are hiding in plain sight, just waiting for us to look a little closer?